Today's project is to replace this, I believe it's a Harden faucet, which is no longer manufactured. Parts are a little hard to come by, and it just leaks and it's just been a pain. We're going to replace it with a Moen. Why a Moen? Buy it for looks, buy it for life. I think every fixture in my house is now a Moen, and whenever we've had any issues, they've been quick to resolve them, up to the point of actually just sending us out a whole new fixture for a fixture that was in there probably 10 years. So awesome company, great product, great price. I can't say a whole lot more than that. So first part is turn off the water, have some tools. I think all we're going to need here is a basin sink, maybe a crescent wrench, slip jaw wrench, and obviously we're going to need a flashlight because we need to work in this dark area. So the plan is going to be to disconnect the cold, hot, come underneath here and remove the old fixture, and that should come out fairly easy, we hope. And then I'm hoping just to drop in the fixture without replacing this part of it, but we'll see how that goes. So I have my basin wrench, which I'm going to attach the nut up here, and righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. You know, the problem with working underneath these basins is there's just not a lot of room to play with. Now I do have a container to catch whatever might come off this line. There is some dripping. With one hose disconnected, we go over to the hot water side and get our basin sink in there. This is a great tool. I mean, you know, obviously you're not going to use it more than a few times, maybe in the life of your house, but when you need it, it's just awesome because it gets in that tight area. And there's no way you could get in there with a pipe wrench or a slip joint. And we're going to have some more dripping. And I think I'm going to loosen the rest of it by hand so I can control how much of it falls all over the inside of the cabinet here. And now that these two lines are disconnected from the fixture, I'm just going to use crescent wrench to finish the disassembly of those hoses. With the hoses removed, we can see that there is still a plastic lock, knuckle lock on here that we can remove, and then this is just a thumb screw to disconnect the stopper. So hopefully these will just twist off. It's coming out. One. Sure enough, it did break loose just by swiveling the fixture a little bit and just applying a little bit of muscle. It's in an awkward place as far as trying to get my hands in here, get a good grip on it, but it is turning, so it will come free. So I found a solution. It was really binding, and a long nose, an electrical tool, long nose pair of pliers, grabbed onto either side of the flange and just did the turning, and now it's to the point where I believe I can just do it all by hand. Yeah, it's really easy. So just know that there are other ways of getting this part off if you really get it hung up without buying a specialty tool, as long as you have an electrical long nose plier in your toolkit. We've now removed the 2 flanges, so the old unit just comes out. I did loosen the nut that was attached to this rod. So you end up with, you know, all the deposits and gunk that's been there for all the years. And I'm trying the scrubbing bubble kind of thing, and a pad that has a little scouring to break that up, and finally a straight edge that can really just get in there and penetrate to it through the stuff. And then when I get most of it off, you see how that's just coming right out? I will polish that again with the scrubbing bubble, and it should be really, really clean, so that when you drop in the new one and it has a flange on it, it gets a good seal and you don't get, you know, water and scum and all that going through and dropping down below. Once we're done cleaning this up, we get the flange out of the Moen kit, put that down, grab the fixture, place it through, making sure that it sits all the way around that gasket and that we're not stepping outside of it. Okay? Then we go to these. Remember these? These are the little nuts with the flanges on them that you're going to use to tighten up on the brass fitting on the hot and the cold. And that'll hold this in place. And that's like the bulk of the work. So let's go down below and do that. The flat side goes up against the basin, and you just thread. Is a little harder with one hand, but you know, most of you won't have a camera. And you hand tighten. You don't need a tool for this. Do the same thing to both sides. Make sure, see that little light coming through? Make sure that's where the rod's going to come down for the stopper. So make sure that clears your basin open. So you may have to adjust this forward or backward depending on your particular sink. Anyway, so I'm going to tighten the other one, which is the same as this one, so no point in looking at that. With the sink in position, the next thing we need to do is attach some hoses. I'm using steel braided cable. It's 1/2-inch connectors on both ends because that's just what happens to be the fittings here, and I'm using it's 20 inches of hosing, which should make the connection. And hand tighten, and then give it about a 1/2 inch with our little basin wrench, and you should be locked into position with both of these. So we've attached the hoses to the top using hand tightening, and then the basin wrench to give it just a 1/4 turn. Now, you know, you may feel that's not enough, but if you overdo it, you're just going to damage the fitting and then create leaks. If you just do only a 1/4 turn and you find out that it is leaking, then of course you can tighten it a little bit more. But just initially, just do the 1/4 turn. I actually used a little Teflon tape. That's me, it's not called for. I'm going to take off the, maybe not. I'm going to take off the filter here so that when I run the water, it doesn't hit the water saving little strainer device here. But it's attached pretty tight, so I'm going to have to use maybe a persuasion tool. There she goes. Okay. Yeah, you should always take this off before you run any water through it. So I'm going to do the 1/4 turn on here to tighten it after I've snug it up. And then I'm going to open up the valves and we're going to run some water through it and see if it works. So once everything's hooked up, run the water. That flushes out that part. Check for leaks. And finding none, trust me, I already checked. All we need to do now is attach this little piece And we won't tighten it as much as they did at the factory. Moen, buy it for looks, buy it for life.